So the video that I'm recording now has been recorded twice, and I feel like this one is probably going to be the one that has the kind of mix of intensity and logic that I was kind of going for. And I feel like that intensity was going to probably make it more attractive to a lot of guys who probably need that extra push in the field, because I feel like there's a lot of people in the world who want tough love, guys especially, including myself. I wish somebody would have told me my ways were wrong and to kind of straighten myself the fuck out years back. So going into it, porn, it's obviously a hard topic to discuss. And in fact, probably the few dozen people that I've talked to about it, and their kind of views on it, all of them have viewed it negatively. And then looking at it deeper, probably only 5% of them were willing to talk about their views. Because they're probably scared of some backlash or scared of being judged by the people around them, or just maybe weren't sure of how actually strong their views were. And so for me, I've experienced it in the past. I've been surrounded by people and heard their stories, and I've seen kind of the damage that it does on people. So I feel like for me, there's no shame at all in talking about it, as well as no hesitation in kind of the way I'm going to lay it out as well either, because it's quite frankly, I feel like it's kind of my almost moral duty to bring up how it is, even if I'm only talking 10 people in the audience, because it's something that just is not said at all and needs to be fucking said, because this world is full of people who need to be told the hard truth, even if it's an ugly truth to be told. So looking at it, we see probably everyone have seen porn at least once, and a lot of the guys and a smaller portion of the girls that I know have watched it on a regular basis. And then looking at it and what it does to our psyche. Sex is a huge part of human life. It's literally how babies are born. And if you look at porn, it is a gross misrepresentation and the ugliest version possible of something that is supposed to be beautiful. And then you look into how far it goes and what percentage of it is violent and how much of the violent stuff is viewed. And then if you go even step deeper, how much of it involves sex trafficking and ruins people's lives, and people commit suicide after watching or after being part of that industry. It's sort of one of those things that needs to be discussed more and with more intensity, because you can't hide the ugly and you can't hide the damage that it does to people's lives. So that needs to be fucking said, and needs to be said well. And looking at it too, I've watched it in the past. 4 years back, I watched it on a pretty regular basis, and it's not something I'm proud of at all. Something that I grew out of very quick once, I had a girl come into my life who kind of morally elevated me. But looking back at it, it certainly follows that hedonistic lifestyle where you need more of the same thing to feel that same level of goodness in the moment that does not turn out to be goodness. That immediate spurt of dopamine that has to be increased every single time, otherwise the effects will just wear off eventually. And in doing that, you see people who reach more and more gross levels, and just frankly disgusting and the worst side of humanity, and that show the worst side of humanity in what they portray. And so many people are caught in that cycle where they have to increase the volume, they have to increase the intensity to the point where it's not even two partners anymore, it's multiple people. Sometimes even animals are brought into it, and then violence and other disgusting things that shouldn't even be spoken about and that have no place in the marriage bed, and damage relationships, and that damage lives, and that ruins people's manhood and ability to be their true best selves. And that is why, frankly, it must be talked about. And then you take it, looking at it more and more and more, we each have a certain level of moral responsibility to this world and moral responsibility to do what is right. And it's not just simply I'm going to do what works for me and you do what works for you. By watching porn and by clicking on the ad, or by seeing the ads and having the ads pop up on your screen, you are funding the sex trade. You are funding ruining people's lives. You're funding terrible depravity that goes so much farther beyond what your small frame of mind is willing to even consider. Your effects on this world are massive, on the universe, and the good you can do is vast, but also is the harm. And so that is something you have to consider. And then if you look into, what it does to relationships, single people, their own vast amounts of harm, in terms of with expectations and causing erectile dysfunction and destroying probably the good part of our souls as well too. But if you look into what it does to relationships, people who are dating, people who are married, I've heard stories where guys have to be able to finish, they have to turn on porn when they're sitting right next to their girlfriend, or they can't when they're with their girlfriend/wife and have to resort to porn to be able to get the result that they want, or the satisfaction, or even when the girl is just simply not even wanted anymore because porn is the only way they can get a hard on. And immediately off the bat, that sounds sad. But also, if you look at what the culture is saying about porn, it's encouraging us to watch it. It literally is saying, hey, go watch all the porn you want, do what makes you happy, when in reality, what makes you happy is only short term and will result in terrifying effects to both our soul and general happiness, etc. I apologize for my wet hair. I am recording this at 2 a.m. because I just got like a burst of motivation, and it's certainly something that needs to be talked about, so why not talk about it to the camera with you guys today? If we look at the study that is often promoted when it comes to, hey, porn is good, it was actually a self-referenced one where they asked people, how do they feel when watching porn? And generally the answer was, I feel good. And that's how they based the outcome of the study on. And if you have any scientific background or know how studies are done and the varying levels of what makes a study true, that is like the least possible or the least best way and the least best representation of the data that we could gather. So that's kind of like the immediate, just like kind of sword in the side of that argument as well too. And then immediately off the bat, you have to consider the ramifications it has against the people you're with. You're not just, committing harm against yourself, you're committing harm against your future wife, because they have to deal with the psychological damage of the porn you have consumed and how it has twisted your brain too. So it's not just, and your family as well too, especially if that damage does go on to affect your children and the people around you, because, the damage that it does is quite extensive and goes far beyond, honestly, what I even thought was possible, even knowing it was bad years back. And just seeing like the amount of damage it truly has caused is certainly something that's terrifying, and it's something that has to be talked about. And so the reason of me doing this video with a lot of intensity, quite frankly, is I had a person reach out to me when I posted something on my story talking about porn negatively and how people should stay the fuck away from it, saying that I was being too intense and that it wasn't really like it was more so like, oh, they're trying to be better. The person was, a Christian who shared the same beliefs as I do with a lot less intensity. And my thing is, something is obviously not working when 60% of married Christian males, and the number might be a few percentages lower or higher, I don't remember off the top of my head, when 60% of male Christians who are married, they are married with a wife, watch porn on a regular basis. And the number of people who probably don't have, religious beliefs, that number is probably even more. And so that is just something that should show you how fucked up it is and how damaging it is, and something that needs to be talked about, especially in today's youth and with a lot of intensity. A lot of the guys out there, it's one of those habits that you need to get the fuck away from and find a way to cope other ways that isn't just repeatedly damaging your psyche and hurting your future relationships and the future people that you're going to be with. And the women, all the children that are sold into sex slavery and used for these videos, and the people who hurt them that profit off of these videos, getting your views. So yeah, very intense talk. Literally speaking, if you watch porn, you are a cuck, and nobody wants to be a cuck. There's probably some group of people on the internet who get joy off of that. Actually, there is. It's legit a fetish. But 95% of the guys out there don't want to be called a cuck, and you are a cuck if you watch porn. You're literally watching another woman get railed, and you are getting pleasure off of that. And that's pretty fucked up. So, hope everyone has a great day. Hope everyone makes the best choices. Remember that there's only shame in not trying, and we all fail when we choose to make a better lifestyle for us. And there's only shame in giving up. There's only shame in giving up. So if you're struggling with that right now, there's resources, there's people around you. Hell, even I would be down to talk about that stuff with you as well too. But just realize that you should only feel shame if you choose to continue the lifestyle and to not improve. And from my past experiences and the people that I've talked to, there probably is a large part of you that wants to escape that and wants to be better. So I'll leave you with that. Have a great night, guys. Hope everyone enjoyed this video and took something out of it. Just kind of my thoughts on the matter, just laid out. I had one cut in here to kind of recollect my thoughts, but that's just how I view it. No preparation, no notes, just kind of talking off the cuff. So I hope everyone has a great night. Go to the gym and have a great night. Peace.